Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Absolutely phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal in all senses. Experts, guests from around the world with incredible backgrounds, incredible journeys of self-discovery, self-healing, self-love that have in turn led them and allowed them to help others. So we've got New York Times bestselling, or I should say Amazon bestselling authors these days, healers, doctors, psychiatrists, athletes, actors, Delta Force operator, White House physician to the US president, incredible assortment, CNBC anchor, CBS morning show reporter, you name it. A lot of near-death experience folks as well. They've all gone through something that makes it just fantastic to have them on the show, to listen to their story, to have them share their insights, their wisdom. And in addition, we do a little extra on this show, hopefully unique. Many guests, I think we've had 3 where I've either forgotten to do anything, that happens, or there's been a couple that are, they're going to tell us what they're going to tell us, and they're not going to want to take any steps. We're good how it is. The contrast, love is what allows us to enjoy the contrast of both the guests in this show and in life itself. So with that big intro, I'd like to actually focus on the guest. It's ROBIN JELINEK coming to us not out of the usual Naples, Florida, but Bainbridge Island in Washington State. She's been doing what she's been doing for decades. I mean, 40 years. She's a healer, channel, best-selling author, life coach. She's super skilled, super talented, knows her stuff, and she's got a lot of joy for us all. ROBIN, thank you very much for being on Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm excited to have you here. I know we haven't met before except for the 10 minutes before the show, but I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Okay, so this started for you, and we'll call it life, that the universe is way bigger than most of us would ever allow for, like the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland. It started in childhood, didn't it?
Well, looking back now, I can kind of recognize a few things that started in childhood. I didn't realize that right away. I wouldn't say it was in your face or really evident. The biggest thing that I noticed throughout my lifetime from an early age was a very heightened empathy, to the degree where I didn't really understand it. It was very uncomfortable for me to be around crowds or people, or even if someone would ask something of me. I remember my dad asking me to get him an apple out of the refrigerator and realizing when I went there that there wasn't any, and just this overwhelming feeling of like disappointment and not wanting to go back and tell him that I couldn't provide him with the apple that he wanted. I think that's one of the things that happens to people with heightened empathy, is they want to satisfy the needs of others because it's so difficult to feel their feelings in any type of dissatisfaction or whatever it is that a person needs to be satisfied. An empathetic person, oftentimes in the early stages of that development, will move to try to fix everything. They want to give everything that someone else needs. And it sounds like a really wonderful thing to do, but actually you're doing it for your own salvation, because you can't stand feeling everyone else's feelings. Therefore, you try to satisfy them as much as you can.
Hmm. Can you give us an example? Were you picking up other people's like illnesses? Were you coming to tears at times? Or were you just overwhelmed, behind a closed door?
It would be any emotional value that someone would be having within themselves without them having to say it. One of the things that I've recognized throughout my experience is I thought this happened to everyone, but if I would walk into a coffee shop, I would have 5 or 6 people at different times just telling me everything that was going on in their life that they were struggling with, which I found kind of odd. Within a few minutes, I would hear about their divorce, the loss of a child, a move that didn't work out, whatever it was that they were going through, that actually I had already kind of felt that energy when I came into the room, not recognizing where it was coming from. So I started to realize that very quickly, that I would feel the emotive states of people that were surrounding me. And actually that's become a tool now that's used in my sessions, because it's really beneficial to be able to know exactly what someone's feeling and what's inside of them. It wasn't such a pleasant thing when I didn't really understand how to control it, and it was happening all the time, and I would wonder whether it was mine or someone else's. But I would say over time that that's gotten better now.
Hmm. Okay, so the data or drama dump, which is natural, it happens all the time. We do it subconsciously in small doses too, just as regular folks, even if you don't view yourself as empathic. How did you handle that with boundaries? Was it first you became a healer, learned boundaries? Did you learn boundaries first? Did you pick up judo, marathon running? How did you cope with all of this? And when was it? Was it high school, college, after college?
Yeah, I would say not very well. I didn't really know what it was or why it was happening, and I would just feel like I would go to a maybe a gathering where there were a number of people and not feel good in it. Feel like I wanted to go home and just have an emotive state come over me that I couldn't understand, and I would feel like it was mine, and I would wonder about it. Why did I feel that way? Why did I have that icky feeling inside of myself? So that kind of went on for a good part of my life where I just didn't really understand it or know what it was. I just didn't even I just kind of felt it all the time and had no understanding of why it was happening. And then I would say by the time I got into my 40s, I started to recognize this isn't mine, this is belonging to somebody else. And it would be confirmed basically by people coming and telling me their stories. I could feel the sadness, I could feel the anger, I could feel different things that they were actually going through. And then, of course, now, I'm 65, just turned in July. I've gotten to the point now where, in sessions, I'm fully aware that I'm slipping a jacket on. That's the way I would describe it, with the permission of those that I'm having the session with. You get to try them on a little bit and feel what it is that they're feeling. And it's a very effective tool that you can actually use. You don't have to, you can take the jacket off when you're done with it. In the earlier years, I would say I wore it around quite a bit. I didn't understand how it all worked. Now I can feel something and not attach to it so much. I can just let it kind of run through me, get an understanding of what somebody's going through, and then take the jacket off and then move from that place or point.
Mm. Okay, but let's back up and let's go back to that point. Were you 18, 24, 36? When did you say, hey, I'm stepping out of Robin Jelinek's experience and I'm picking up that book, or I saw that movie, or I related, like it was this is the worst example ever, like the Dead Zone from Stephen King. He touches people and gets their whole life flashed to them. And that's an extreme example. We'll ditch that. When did you first go outside of yourself and say there was an organization, a movie, a book, something clicked and you were like, oh, I can get more info from outside of my direct experience? When did that happen?
I would say in my early 20s, a lot of reading and study began during that time, and I just loved it. It was just a passion that I had. We were running a business, and I had two children at home. So that was really the only avenue I could take, would be something that I could get in my hands and read about. And so that was a lot of that going on, all between 20 and 40 years old. And then, of course, and that's a large time span, literally hundreds of books, everything that you can imagine I've read and digested and studied along the way. And it was like an insatiable desire to learn more, to gather more information. And then as I hit my early 40s, that's when I had that Kundalini awakening that I've talked about many times in other interviews that I've had. And I would say that was a culmination really of all of the material that I'd probably read up to that point, some practice. However, there are many people that have a Kundalini awakening and don't do anything to obtain it. So I can't really say that the practice is the thing that made the thing happen. It's hard to understand. I think the basic understanding that I have is there has to be some kind of a shift in consciousness in order to awaken that energy. And whatever that is for each individual person is your journey. It's what you're looking for, that key that fits in the door, that kind of opens you up to the soul aspect of yourself, if you will. That's what I would call it. So that's kind of what happened to me. I had a lot of years of study, a lot of interest and joy in doing it, really enjoyed it. Then in my 40s, did do some practices, chakra work, breath work, those types of things on my own that I were drawn to. And again, I always tell people, follow the breadcrumbs that you feel like picking up. Don't force yourself to do something because you heard someone else did it and it worked for them. Do the thing that you really, feel called to do, that you really like doing. It's not the practice really. It's the desire that's spurred by something that you choose along the way that just keeps kind of fueling or fanning that fire, if you will. So that's kind of how my journey worked. After I had that Kundalini awakening, that was really a confirming moment for me. That was something that I really needed, even though I had a lot of belief and I understood that we had energy centers in our body. When you actually see them, feel them, hear them, and have that kind of experience, it's something that you never go back from. It's a perception or a belief, just like you believe that you're a human. You've had a lot of confirmation of that. And so, and your spirituality is something that, quite honestly, you need some confirmation too. It's why people get the spiritual experiences that they get. They need something that they can believe in or perceive themselves as. So I've had a number of spiritual confirming experiences, and I'm grateful for all of them. I don't go out looking for them. And I would say maybe early on when I had the first one or two, I did. But now I don't feel like I need them as much because once you've had that confirmation, you feel pretty satisfied to move ahead in that direction and not really question it like you might have if you hadn't had one.
Mm. And so you've answered a lot there, especially on you don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to do too much. The universe will take care of everything or provide, or certainly everything will be your instruction if you just pay attention. With that, because that answers the next question in a way too, can we still try to answer this question for like the books you were reading, the movies, the whatever, the experiences you were doing from like, I'm going to make it up from 25 to 36, everything, the hundreds of books that you put your hands on and read, what were just some of the highlights or favorites as you look back that you enjoyed the most?
Yeah. Well, Gary Zukav, I loved him. Michael Singer, I read a lot of his books. I read The Course in Miracles. I read after course when I hit my 40s and had that Kundalini Awakening. I think I read every book in print in regard to that. So just, I can't say that there were any. There were times when there were some channeled books, I can't recall them at the moment, that put me off, that I just quite honestly felt like they were fear-based and I felt kind of threatened when I read them, then I just put them away. I didn't pursue that. And that wasn't very many. That was a very limited amount that happened in. But for the most part, it was just like building blocks, like continuing to build and learn more and more about myself and about this whole awakening process.
Okay. So in a second, we're going to go to like the Kundalini awakening process or however you want to tackle that, including then translated for a lot of folks watching, and also talk about Athena and some other stuff. And I do have a Gary Zukav quote to give you to get your food for thought on that or your reaction. It's a beautiful quote. But before we do, can you also just put it into words how you roll? So if you today go to a bookstore, do you have people gravitate to you while you're looking at books and you're like, whoa, I'm on my private time right now, and they start sharing stuff still, and you might change aisles and they still follow you over? Are
Yeah.
you seeing auras automatically on people, no auras whatsoever, or you're feeling the colors, you're feeling their field? Can you paint the picture on how you roll with the different senses? Are you ever getting olfactory,
Yeah.
and also nighttime, dream time? Can you share something there as well?
Yeah. Well, I would say that primarily, I don't go to bookstores anymore, not very often. I might get a book now and then that my son likes to study the same way that I do on spiritual material. And if he recommends something he really loves, I will pick it up and read it or, order it, something like that. But what I really love about becoming a channel and connecting to the divinity part of myself is that I can really pose a question in wanting to know something and really get a very detailed response from the universe that makes me feel satisfied. I think that sometimes that insatiable desire that we have to learn something that we think is outside of ourselves is what is really driving us forward to recognize that it's already in there, that we don't really need to do that. So I can remember, even though I enjoyed a lot of that pursuit, also feeling a little frustrated by it, feeling as though, I've done this for so many years and I'm still looking for the words of others in order to get the answers that I want. And what I feel really satisfied about now is I can do that for myself. I can actually ask myself a question and get a pretty clear knowing what really works well for me is automatic writing. It's not something that I had in the beginning. It's different beings that I channel that come through during automatic writing. And I think it's better than some of the speaking channeling that I actually do. So I love that because many times I can ask a question or have a thought about something that might be going on in my life or one of my family members' lives. And then this really beautiful explanation will come out and I'll read it the next day and think, wow, where did that come from? Not from me. But so that's one of the things that I've really grown to love that I do quite a bit. I have a new website now called Athena Universe alongside of Athena and Truth. And that's where I do a lot of those written transmissions and verbal recordings that they actually don't, Athena's voice always speaks, but it's not always her that's doing the transmission. There's a culmination of a number of beings that communicate together. They call it merging. And then the appropriate entity or the one that matches maybe what it is that we are discussing will be the one that will channel through during that time. And that happens with clients too. If I get someone who's maybe really stuck in something, I would get a more pungent exchange. I would get a stronger force that would come through that would match that type of energy. If I got someone that was very delicate, very soft, then of course the exchange is going to be more that way. It's going to be something that is suited to the client, or makes them feel resonance with themselves. That's actually what occurs in the divine part of ourselves, and it actually occurs in the meetings that I have. There's a merging that takes place, and in that merging, we have full understanding and knowing of what is wanted to be communicated with no judgment or condemnation. I recently had some experiences with telepathy, and I wondered how that was going to work out. You know, I wasn't going to like that too well, knowing exactly what my husband thought or my children thought. But what I realized is when those situations started to reveal themselves to me at that level of consciousness, judgment, condemnation, anger, jealousy, rage, they just don't exist there. And then I really got the understanding, oh, I get it. When we move to another level of consciousness, we're not going to make ourselves feel differently. We're not going to muscle ourselves in our experience to be able to handle something that we normally couldn't handle. We just don't need to. It's not there. You actually move out of an area of consciousness of which those things are a part of, and you're no longer invested in it.
Resisting, reacting, rejecting aren't
Yeah.
in the playing deck.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do it a different way though right now, because this is a hard one. This has been like an eternal question for me. By that I mean like 10 or 12 years. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. If I tried to describe Abraham, the best I could do is maybe like a group of light beings. How about that? And I don't believe there's any hierarchy. It's all love. It's one giant love sandwich where you can all take a bite, and it's really well done. So it's just, you know, really big figures of light, and sometimes a little more defined in all different areas. There's so much flavor. But for Athena, do you have a way you describe like Esther Hicks, Abraham group, or Athena? Do you have a way to, like, if I was to do it one more layer of detail? Angels are like dolphins, light beings are like whales. It doesn't mean some of the angels aren't closer to like whales. Some of the dolphins aren't closer to whales. There's some really broad ones, especially archangels. Maybe even broader, I don't know. But so the point is, you've been doing this for like 40 years. You must have some flavor. If you were being offered a check for $1 million to your favorite charity, but you had to come up with a few sentences to describe it, what would you take a shot at just for flavor, for understanding? The audience would love this.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I would say is channeling is a manifestation. It's no different than becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a garbage picker upper, whoever, whatever you are. You have some interest or desire to be something, and you go through the process or the training to be it. And anyone can do that in the love of it or in something that they're really desiring to do. As far as Esther Hicks goes, you know, and I can only say this is for myself, but I really believe it's true of all channelers, that this too is a matching experience. Something's going to come to you in a way that's very satisfying to you. And in my call of not having a lot of confidence, of reaching the age of 60 and feeling as though I wasn't fully confident in a lot of areas in my life, and there really was no reason for it. It was just something that was layered or trapped in me from maybe this life, past lives, or my lineage, who knows. And that particular day, I posed the question to myself, you know, I'm 60 years old. When am I going to feel what it's like to be confident? And that's when I really came into connection with that stream of consciousness of which Athena was a part of, and really felt what it felt like for a woman to be both powerful like a man, but feminine and divine like a woman. And so how I would describe that is you are going to draw unto yourself something that's very satisfying in the way that it makes you feel your wholeness. The more that I channel that energy of that confident feeling, the better I get at embodying that in myself. It's something that sometimes we have to feel before that we're able to actually incorporate that into ourselves or our own lives. And so I guess we'd have to ask Esther the question, what is it that it makes you feel when you channel the group that you're channeling? And I would be willing to bet that it matches and satisfies something within herself. That's actually what happens. And then as far as light beings go, or the levels of consciousness, that's a never-ending thing. This universe that you're a part of just goes on and on and on and on. And the more that you can trust, the more that you can believe, the more information and the higher levels of consciousness that you have access to. I don't really like the words higher and lower, but I don't really know how else to describe them. But it doesn't have to be looked at that way. It's just that the more that you experience and the more that you can believe and perceive what it is that you are a part of, the more access you get to it. So even as a channel, you have the ability to keep growing, to keep getting higher and higher levels of communication. But it is a process that you have to unfold to. You have to be able to hold that level of consciousness. When you're in third dimensional reality, all you really have access to is the three lower energy centers, where there is lack, where there is not enoughness, where there's jealousy, where there's rage, lust, all of those things. And then a human would say that they want to get rid of their ego. Well, you really need it when you're in the three lower energy centers. It's what you create from effort. That's all you believe in. And then once you start to expand your conscious a little bit, maybe you run into someone like us or a book like Gary Zukav or anyone else that resonates with you, you end up sliding into a level of consciousness that brings you up into the heart center, where you start to recognize that I can create another way. I can actually create through happiness, through joy, through my focus. I can not worry about competing. I don't need to worry about not enoughness, that I actually sovereignly can bring to myself what it is that I want to experience in my life. And so it's a perception. It's a new set of tools, if you will, that you have access to. And that just continues now. So you're in the 7 energy centers in the body, but once you expand and open all those, and that's what a Kundalini awakening is, once you get that 7 energy centers open, and that's something that you really do yourself through your life experiences, and you're only going to do it once. It might be this lifetime or many lifetimes from now, depending on what it is that you have stored within you. But once you get those 7 energy centers, there's 122 inside of the body that continue to be opened independently on their own by the energy from the 7 that you have released by yourself. And so you can see the level of consciousness or the amount of information or wisdom and knowledge that you have access to when you continue to open those energy centers is never ending.
And humor, joy, laughter, how much humor are you getting from Athena and just doing what you're doing? Is it all the time sprinkled in? Anytime you get too serious, you get a reminder?
Well, in the beginning, it was kind of overwhelming because they were in all the time. And my husband said, well, can I read the paper in the morning? And I thought, how am I going to get my laundry done or anything else around here? But now I've realized they're thought provoked. And so if I don't think about them, I have complete peace. I'll go away on a vacation and not have any interaction at all. But the moment that I think about them, they'll make their presence known. My body will move. I'll feel it in my face. They're ever present. So it's not as though I can't access them. There's one particularly, Jeremiah, and I would say he's reserved more for family. He does do a lot of the written transmissions, but he has a very pungent personality, very funny. And so sometimes I reserve that just for the family because it can have a little bit of a shock and awe kind of presence to it. But yeah, there are funny moments for sure. But there are moments where I wouldn't even think I'm doing it because I just put it aside.
And outside of Athena, are there, I mean, there's a lot of different unconditional love beings in the universe, Native American chiefs, figures from India, cultural this, cultural that, elementals, and so on. Are there other figures that before Athena, after Athena, during Athena, that you also love to interact with? Is it primarily Athena? How do you roll?
Well, what I'm told is there is a group, a number of beings that I channel, but they are she's the speaker of the house or the one that actually does the verbal communication. I have had some interaction with other beings in my private time where I've been known who they were and what they were. It's not something that I spend a lot of time talking about. Usually there's a purpose for it or something I need to feel. Let's use that term. So yeah, there are both the group that I channel, and then occasionally there will be something outside of that. But I don't ever have to do any like surrounding myself in white light or worrying about negative energies or anything like that. And I think that that's why I have the ever-present situation where I just think about them and they come in. They're the ones that would determine whether or not somebody would be allowed to channel through that opening or not. What I have found is on occasion in sessions, it's not what I primarily do, and it's not something that I advertise or expect to do. Once in a while, there'll be someone that passed that comes through. And in the beginning, when that happened, I didn't really understand how it worked because it wouldn't come through the group, it would come through me. It would be more me verbally hearing something and then being asked to repeat it. And then again, that requires a whole new level of trust, a whole new level of expanding on yourself in order to do that. And so I really shied away from it. It was something I didn't really like to do. On occasion, I will do it, but you know, it's very difficult to hear something like someone describing, maybe a stuffed animal or a situation, and then to have to say it and find out that maybe in fact they don't remember it or it's not true. So you really have to understand that when you do this work, there's really an expansion of trust and belief. And then as you step off that diving board, you're rewarded for it. You actually get more and more information if you are able to do that. But it is not easy. It's a difficult thing when you first start stepping into it. But the reason that that happens is that individual consciousness that's passed is not going to be allowed through that portal that I'm channeling through. It would have to be by my discretion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I've got that Gary Zukav quote for you. I almost forgot. I think this is super fun. You change the way that you shape the light, which is flowing through you by changing your consciousness. Can you talk to us about how that is perhaps oh so true?
Yeah. Well, people talk about enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? It's more light force energy getting into the being. That's what it is. It's not some super person that's better than everyone else. It's someone that's figured out that there is a light source energy that is trying to flow through them based upon what they hold within themselves. So the amount of light that you can contain is largely determined upon the emotional entrapments or the amount of stored energy that you have in those energy centers. It's what slows them down. It's what denies the divinity part of yourself its entrance. There's never anything that anyone has ever done that's terrible enough that you would be denied your own divinity. You would have to do that to yourself. You would have to decide in your judgment, in your condemnation, in your dislike of yourself in any way. That's what actually denies that light force energy from entering you. And I think that's one of the most liberating things that I've learned in this process is that you don't need to change. You don't need to be better than you are. You don't have to have certain conduct or behavior in order to have the divinity part of you think that you're good enough to flow through you. You have to think you're good enough. And that's when I talked about earlier what a shift in consciousness is. I just decide that I'm going to love myself and accept myself in the way that I've chosen to feel in my experience. And therefore, I will receive the unconditional love of my source. I'll become a match to it. And then that light force energy will enter the field. If you in any way deny that energy in the dislike or distaste of yourself or in the judgment that you somehow lived wrong, then you can't get that. You can't get that connection. So it's just to understand that you're doing that to yourself. And for me, that just gave me uh, a freedom feeling, a really ability to go out and live my life freely. Does that mean that you're going to do stinky things? No, not really. But you might in the beginning. But what's going to happen in that love of yourself, you become a match to the divine part of yourself, which gains access to you through that. And then your behavior does change, and you do become that person that you really efforted and tried and wanted to become, but were not able to do it on your own. That'll be coming as a gift to you right through the source part of you as you love yourself and make yourself a match to it.
Okay, we're hanging a right-hand turn. So is love the fabric of the universe?
Well, in my understanding, love is truth. There is an acceptance of what is true without any judgment or condemnation, and that, to me, would be a clear depiction. Everybody wants truth. It doesn't matter if a relationship's coming to an end or a new one starting. That value that people hold in feeling the truth is really what love is all about.
I love it. I'm going to read a passage from Angels or Loving Beings. And so just think of it as not me having written this, just heard it a long time ago. Why is being the key to all of this? Being is believing in all. You do not need to be like anyone else. Be you. Smile more, think less. Do not permit others to dictate your well-being. Own your own being in life. Love more and allow more. You can be happy now in this very moment without a single reason. Again, this is why it's not about words or concepts, which are often just another form of egoic thinking. Always keep releasing so as to not allow walls to be rebuilt. Ego. What to release exactly is never that important. Those are mere details. Keep releasing. Ego likes to judge everything and build walls. Ego likes to offer knowing as a form of false security. Step away from this and return to a peaceful life. Follow your path in life one step at a time. Enjoy it. Let go of perfectionist or defined behaviors such as roles. Embrace the awesome life given to you and each one of us. Just be. Listen to everything, for everything around you is always your instruction. Love isn't everything. Open your eyes to find love. There's only one life, not two. Be in the moment. And last little bit, compassion is within all too. There are just many levels of awareness in man. Everyone can grow. Let go to expand your awareness level. See how when you let go, you become lighter and free. Your energy brightens and you feel alive. Believe. Trust this is so and it will be so. This is what faith, religious, non-religious, is about. Not knowing in life while letting go and loving. And I'll just add one last little bit. Compassion to others happens only when it is first applied by you to yourself to release your ego and embrace more openness and love in the now. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think most people spend a good part of their lives reacting to things rather than just allowing what it is that they are feeling and know that they're creating a preference because of that feeling. You're creating sovereignly and individually, and so many people give up their sovereignty as they look at something that they quote unquote deem as wrong. Look at that guy. He's racist, or he's throwing garbage out the window, but they don't realize in the emanation of hate that they are now expressing to the universe that that's what it's returning on. So you're actually sacrificing your own sovereignty. So I think the statement there in what you just read about your own beingness and being aware that this is what's being returned on, and anyone else that you're using as an excuse or to justify what you're feeling in negativity is being returned onto you. That's just the way the universe works. You may not like that fact, but that's the way that it is. So when you really start to understand that when you can go out into life and view others in their experience as a leverage tool, that when you see something that you don't like, that you're actually grateful for the view that they showed you of it, so that you can now choose the direction that you prefer because of it, rather than moving to that condemning and judging place that just actually expands that energy and justifies them more in the negativity that they're in. Sometimes you can give someone a view of themselves that they're not able to give themselves. And so this idea that you can't say that isn't wrong, you can't say that isn't a bad person, those kind of things just expand that behavior more and more. So in your beingness, in your awareness that how I emanate and what it is that I feel is the most important aspect of myself, and it's actually how I'm creating the world for myself. You can create a private universe for yourself, right around yourself, in the midst of all the disturbances that are going on, based upon your focus, based upon how you feel from any given moment. So you have that choice, and that's why I wrote the book, Choose Your Universe. You have a decision to make. Am I going to let every person that comes into my field that disturbs me rob me of my sovereignty and decide to create based upon how they feel? Or am I going to decide when I see that person that I now have a new opinion of what a preferred feeling is and move in that direction, and then thank them for showing up in my experience and giving me a view of it?
Okay, I've got your book cover. Give me 1 second. Choose Your Universe with the glare of a window in the background, but we'll do it this way for 2 seconds. What has surprised you, keeps you on your toes, keeps you happy, joyful, thankful in the last couple of years?
Well, definitely my grandchildren. I feel like that was a connecting point for me. The innocence and the beauty of those little ones that come in, and then just the being able to relive it or do it again. When you're raising your own children, you have so many responsibilities and duties and things that are all going on at the same time. And somehow, when you look back on it, you feel as though you could have done it better, and you don't certainly want to move into that regretful feeling. However, now that I have the grandchildren, I've rediscovered play. Like I give myself permission to just really enjoy standing at the swing set, pushing them on the swing, or sitting in the sandbox, or playing with the sprinkler, or whatever it is that I've been able to do with them. So that for me, I feel like that's what really released a lot of resistance in me when they came into my experience. I let go of the idea that there was something else that I needed to achieve or become in order to feel satisfied. I just felt like if this is all that ever happens in my life, having two wonderful children of my own and now have them provide me with these grandchildren, it really was enough. I felt like that was so satisfying that I felt like a release at that point. If I never do another thing, this will have been enough. And that's actually when the channeling process began. And I think that it was there for years. But of course, a lot of people who want that experience or who are struggling with connection are frustrated because they're going at it the wrong way. They're trying to change themselves. They're trying to effort it into their experience. And it really comes through surrender. It comes through no work at all. And I didn't realize that at first when I was on my journey. I felt like the harder I worked, the more that I changed myself, and the better human I became, that I would somehow achieve a level of success in the way that I wanted to feel in my spiritual connection. But that didn't really happen. It came right with all the stinky behavior that I had, in the acceptance of myself, in the love of my experience, is actually what opened that door. It had nothing to do with any type of a contrived perfection.
Yeah. So there's nothing to gain. There's nothing to lose. Move past seeing the negative. It's already here. It's within you. There's one more. Oh yeah. Slow down the doing. Slow down the doing. Because in America, especially, we're like this. The rat race is up here. It's not that external thing. It's not the big
Well,
banks.
and you know, it's not even so much changing anything in your experience, it's being aware of it. It's observing yourself in what it is you are participating in. When you are not aware of what you're participating in, you're participating alone. When you're aware, you've invited the divinity aspect of yourself to come in and observe yourself in your experience, and that flow of energy is coming just in your observation. The change is coming just in the recognition of what it is you're doing in your life. And I think that's the biggest thing that helped me. So do I still get negativity? Absolutely. I get things that get me in the craw, but I'm aware of them. I think, oh, wow, I just feel really angry right now. I just feel really irritated or frustrated, whatever it is. And I immediately know, as I acknowledge that emotion and I start to observe it consciously, that I'm inviting the divine part of myself to view me in the way that I'm feeling and assist me in moving that out of my field without even asking. So awareness is everything. It's not about necessarily governing, because that's what a lot of people do wrong, I think, in spirituality. They move to this place of watching, efforting, trying to change themselves, and that just isn't really effective measure. The best thing that you can do is just to observe yourself in exactly everything you feel, and then love yourself in it, whether it's a negative feeling or not. It's not about positive and negative. It's about an emission of energy that represents a feeling that actually creates a preferred feeling. That's the way you're to look at the emotions that come out of you. You've got this deck of cards to choose from. None of them are wrong. None of them are good or bad. Nobody can judge you in your experience in the card that you choose. They don't know what it's like to sit in your pants. So it's just to really have that easy, understanding, kind, compassionate way with yourself, and to know that everyone is on a journey and everyone is feeling it a little bit differently, not just in the life they're in. They have their lineage, which is playing a part in it. They have past life experiences. So who are you or anyone else to tell someone that they're good or bad, or that they should feel differently than they do? It's just not appropriate.
And you've touched on a question that I've been trying to remember for 15 minutes. Up top, there's a certain type of flow and heart. Now, some people are like, it's more chakra based, the lower three chakras. So view it however you want. But if I did it this way, it would be a bunch of synonyms. Hold on. Unconditional love, awareness, timelessness, no limits. Up here, thinking, rejecting, reacting, fear-based stuff, stress, worry, all the stuff that we do daily, can't help ourselves. It's not going away. But can you talk to us about the difference in the two flows, and yeah, how maybe we should be allowing more and spending more time here or in love or in the field? You'll have your lingo and how you say it, but what do we need to know about the difference between limits, no limits, time, no time,
Yeah.
awareness, unlove, thinking?
So I would really not describe any energy center as representing any positive or negative point. Every single one of your energy centers is representative of an area of your life. And as you spoke about the third eye center,
Cool. Yeah,
and
I'm doing
all
head, heart. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and all of them can be affected by your life experiences. So primarily the third eye center, which provides you with clarity, knowing, trust, ability, that can be affected when your trust is violated. It can be affected if you've been betrayed in your experience. So now that center becomes a little bit different, doesn't it? And it's not functioning maybe to the magnitude that it would if you had not had those experiences. So if you find you're not getting clarity and you're not able to trust, and you feel a little unsure in your decision making, right away, with if I were moving with a client, I would know right away that they had been violated in their trust with someone they should have been able to trust, or they had been betrayed some way in their experience. And so you're holding that energy in that energy center, and then the universe represents to you, you don't have clarity and you don't like that, and you think you're not spiritually connected, but it has nothing to do with that. It just has energy denied to that center because of emotional charges that are held there based upon your life experiences that have caused you to feel a certain way. And the throat center would be the same thing. You would have beautiful, clear communication and great exchanges if that center were open and that energy were flowing in. But if you experience some things where maybe you were denied your opinion, or you were shut down, or you were of a different sexuality and you were not not accepted in your experience, then that area would start to cloud up a little bit and it wouldn't accept the divine flow through it. And you would find yourself in exchanges with people who would be denying your truth, who you would not be having good exchanges with. You would have relationships ending because of poor communication. You would feel as though people were not receiving you the way that you really are. That would be what would occur in that energy center. So you kind of get the understanding that each one of those energy centers represents what it is you're holding. That's how you view, what am I getting in my life as a mirrored result of what it is that I've hung on to in emotional content. And none of it's bad, none of it's wrong. And oftentimes energy gets held in the energy centers because we have a judgment or condemnation. I don't like myself in my control. I don't like myself in my jealousy. I don't like myself in my inability to make a clear decision or follow my intuition. And so as I start to have a judgment or condemnation about something that my life has simply caused me to feel, I start to deny energy, don't I? And I'm not getting the full flow in. And therefore that energy center is laden with energy and then it slows down. When an energy center slows down to the degree that it is threatened that it might stop spinning, that's how it draws its energy, its life force energy into it. Then it will transfer that energy down into the next center, sometimes above and below, to take up some of the slack because it's no longer able to support that amount of negativity that it's holding. And then what will happen is, say you're lacking trust, you're lacking perception or belief in what comes to you in your life, and that maybe makes you feel, let's just say, angry. Then what would happen is that anger would then, after it was in there for a long time and you never noticed it, you never healed that part in yourself, it would transfer down into your throat center and you'd have angry exchanges. It would be showing up again, the same emotion, but it would just be in a different area of your life. Oftentimes when I move with a client, I will find the same emotion spread throughout the entire system. It'll be all the way down to the base. And then there'll start to be some unwellness in the body because all of those energy centers are slowing down. That's where vitality is. It's where health is. It's where passion is. So these people will feel not much passion in their life. They'll feel a lot of aches and pains. Maybe they even have some conditions that have been caused by energy that's been hung on to for a very long time. So it's just to really get this understanding that there's no good and bad going on here. There's just you feeling your experience and transferring that feeling from the energy center that you have to the divinity part of yourself in what you prefer in your experience. That's really all that's going on. When the human decides that it is denying energy, that it feels judged or condemned for its free will choice that it had to send a signal, that's when you get some energy starting to buck up and clog up that energy center.
And in your experience, have humans come to you, without mentioning anybody's name, obviously, are there people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s who have been holding on to stuff for a super long time? Can you just kind of run through that real quick? Are you shocked to see there's gambling going on in the casino, like out of the movie Casablanca with Humphrey Bogart? We're all picking up energy all the time. We're all judging. Have you seen a lot of people in their 50s holding on for decades to certain flows or non-flows?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very common, more than not, I would say, that people hang on to things for their entire lives, and sometimes from atrocities that they experienced early as a child, and they carried that all the way into their 70s and sometimes even 80s. I've had things come out in sessions of people that they didn't realize something that they still had contained within them that they had hung on to for that period or length of time. It's very common to do this. Yeah.
Okay, and if we called it luggage or baggage, maybe baggage has a connotation that's not fun. If we called it just energy that needs to be released, luggage that you don't need to take with you on the return trip leaving your session, how do you handle all that? Do you find that the luggage gets dumped at your doorstep? Do you have it go out to the universe? Does the universe come in and remove it? How would you describe the whole give and take when a person lightens up and they finally let go of something they've been carrying for decades? Do you physically see the energy? Do you have to sage the house? Do you ask Athena and crew to clear the house for you afterwards, your property? How do you describe the energy transaction of the healing itself, if we can call it healing or release?
So if it's okay, I'll just let the group answer that question because I think they would be more adept at it than I would. Yeah. When we move with a client, yeah, we usually ask them a number of questions in regard to the satisfaction level of their life in all areas. The minute that they tell us something in a certain area is not satisfied, whether it be relationship, communication, or clarity, or their ability to express and form as a human, that would be the sacral center, or their money center at the base of the spine. We know right away when they have some trapped energy as something that is within in them. Yeah. What we are going to debunk right now is we are not the clearers of energy or the magical beings that make everything all right within a human. They're actually doing that for themselves. Whether they know it or not, they have a divine high aspect of themselves that joins the meeting, and actually through the permission of the human, and that would be their openness, their agreement that this is even possible, would actually create that portal to open, and therefore they would receive the healing from themselves through themselves. Yeah, they use the opening that we have temporarily. They are able to have that connection on their own, but sometimes the negativity is preventing a match to that tone or that level of vibration. What we do is we try to move through the energy centers. It's what we do in the activation sessions that we do that sometimes take an hour and a half to 2 hours, is we try to move through each one of the energy centers, determining how satisfied they are in all areas of their life, lifting off energy, getting them to understand where they have not loved themselves in their experience, where they have regretted, where they have judged, where they have hated sometimes a way of being or something that they have chosen to feel in their experience. And as we do this, we start to lighten the field. More light energy comes in, more of a connection to the divinity part of themselves, which then makes that transformation or that cleaning that you talked about actually comes to them through them by their own permission, you see.
Beautiful.
Do you have a question for us?
Compassion, kindness, gentleness. Is new consciousness already here and emerging, has always been here for mankind? What would Athena love to talk about for the path for mankind ahead?
What is difficult for mankind is to understand that what they emanate is returned on. Yeah. A man or a woman will feel very justified if someone is behaving in a way that they think is unbecoming or not the right way. This is where judgment is actually born. Humans will let that slide by them and think it is not a judgment, but it is. You are to understand that the divinity part of you receives all who are emanating, and it transmutes the energy or lifts it to the higher degree, or what the vibration of all that is. And so it doesn't really matter. There is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. This is one of the hardest concepts for a human to really get the understanding of, that every human is worthy. Every human is causing expansion and positivity to grow in the expanded version of themselves and the universe as a whole. That doesn't mean that there won't be a transformation coming to them and to the world as a whole. That comes through the connection to oneself, to the understanding that when I stop judging, when I stop condemning, when I stop looking, when I start being, as you brought up earlier, and putting my focus on myself and how I feel, and making sure that I have the emanation that I want returned on, that I actually start to close that gap on the new world that's already created. So as you stand today in yourself, and as the world stands itself, there is a vibrational match to a fifth dimensional reality that's created in love. So everything that you feel in third dimension, which sometimes contains some negativity, is actually transmuted or lifted to the level of love. The place that Robin was talking about, of where negativity doesn't have the same impact or feeling. That's how she would describe it. Sometimes certain planes of existence will be minus certain emotions, and other times it will be as though the emotion will be felt like a flash, but it will not be able to be hung on to or felt as significantly as it once was. So it is to understand that as you move into fifth dimensional reality, of course you are on a third dimensional plane, so you will experience some flashes of emotions that you would deem as negative. But in the fifth dimensional focus, or that reality that you are entering into, that level of emotion is not hung on to or judged or condemned or felt the way that it once was. It's very quickly moved on from. There's a recognition that it was a charge of energy and that something good was created out of it. There is a preferred feeling by everything that I am feeling. And so as you start to get that understanding, the idea of right and wrong and good and bad starts to vanish out of your experience, and you start to be a joy seeker, one that is looking for things that you prefer to focus on, rather than condemning and judging things that you prefer not to see in your experience, and then inadvertently bring those in, you see.
So where you put your focus is where you put your focus, and how you spend your energy is how you spend it. Can you talk to us about the journey that awaits us the second we want to pay attention more? What would Athena want to talk about for just more love, allowing more, loving more, or show love always?
Yeah. Well, everyone has heard the term, it begins with yourself. And what that really means is that you have this agreement. There is a human that has the free will choice to pick and choose how it feels in its experience. And it has the deck of cards, it has all the emotions. Some of them you have deemed as right and wrong and good and bad, and then you attach to them and actually cause yourself a problem with them. Yeah. But what we want you to understand is that if you understand that you have come here with free will and that you have the choice of all the emotions that are available to you to express to the divine how you feel in your experience, and that it loves you unconditionally, it doesn't have any judgment, it doesn't have any condemning about the emotion that you felt to create the opportunity for you that you do want to feel. And so once you really understand that I am trying to match myself in the love of myself, I become a match to the unconditional love of my source, and that's what creates flow. That's where connection comes from. It's not this derived principle that you have to be perfect, that you have to belong to a group, that you have to meditate for a certain amount of time. Certainly, if you love those things and you want to do them, we are not denying that you should access them if it is something that you love doing, but don't do them with the idea that that's somehow going to make you into something that's better than what you are and then cause you a connection. There's many people that have meditated their entire lives and not achieved the alignment that they are wanting to, but there are some that have, yeah? And we would say the ones that have loved what they're doing, has brought them into a desirable state or something that they can align to when they do it. And so it's just to really understand that you're trying to achieve alignment in your free will choice to choose how you feel and love yourself in that choice and your unconditional love of your source. There's never going to be a time when you're going to condemn and judge what you have felt. If you are jealous, you're jealous. If you feel betrayed, you feel betrayed. If you are angry, you are angry. And you're sending out the appropriate motion. So what we do in sessions is we are always confirming to people that they are met in love in what they felt, that they are not condemned, they are not judged, and they have simply attached to emotion that they feel that they have become or that they are because they're in the third density. And remember, we told you in third density, emotions carry weight. They carry a much more pungent feeling, something that's difficult to move from. As you start to recognize that there is a preferred way of feeling that is created by the way that you didn't prefer, and you start to move into that little bit of a higher vibration, the heaviness or the amount of emotion that you feel and hang on to will become less and less, you see.
Hmm. Feel what you feel, do not judge. That was beautiful. Can you talk to us about compassion and joy? It may be two separate topics.
What do you want us to talk about with compassion and joy? What are you referring to?
What? Oh, me defining compassion in any way. Good luck. My opinion is we could be here for 50 years with endless descriptions of compassion. But what would Athena want to say about compassion as a definition, or just something about compassion?
Yeah.
To me, it's never ending in terms of the way you could describe it, but this will be fun to hear Athena
We
talk.
never look at any emotion as something that you should try to move yourself to or force yourself into. Yeah. That compassion is a natural thing in the love of oneself. That love of yourself and that acceptance of what you have felt in your experience causes you to be able to offer it or flow it to others. It's as simple as that. So one of the biggest mistakes that a human will make sometimes is to try to force themselves into being more loving or force themselves into being more allowing or force themselves into being compassionate when they are not yet at that place or point in their own life. Yeah. So it is about you getting yourself into alignment, and by alignment, we mean in the love of self. Alignment comes, I'm connected to my source. I'm at the same level. I love myself and everything that I feel. I don't regret. I don't judge. I don't condemn. I know that I have lived many lives. I know that I'm part of a lineage, and I know that I'm an experiencer right now. And I know that I have this deck of cards that I'm picking and choosing from to signal the universe how I feel. And so where's the room there for, where's the regret? Where would I want to suck out something that has created more of something? And I can't do that. Once I have felt something, it has gone out to the universe, it is expanded. You can't shrink the universe back down. Ask any scientist, they're going to tell you it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. All you have the choice of, your free will choice, is to love yourself in what it is that you sent out. Now, a lot of humans will get kind of nervous about that because they're going to know that they have felt a lot of negativity in their creation. They have actually sent out expansion through suffering, which is fine. It's not a problem. But if you are worried about it, you're going to actually draw in experiences that you're not going to like the feel of. Don't worry about what's out there circling you in your universe that you have inadvertently focused on in negativity. As long as you start to get this recognition of love, I love myself in all that I feel. I will not match any of the lower tone emotions that were sent out that are circling me. And I will only be a match to the divine love that will flow through me to me from the universe. Humans don't like themselves in their control. They don't like themselves in their hate. But why does a human control? Because it knows that it has experienced something that's holding something in their gut that is going to kick out emotions that are going to bring experiences that they're not going to like. So they move to control to prevent that. What's to hate in that? It's the human trying to protect itself from being wounded, from something that it experienced in its experience. So we move to try to get a human to understand why they have moved to control and understand it more thoroughly and completely, and therefore give themselves some love and understanding in the behavior that they have adopted to protect themselves, and then make them understand that there is this universe that works for you, this universe that loves you, this universe that will control everything that you want, that it will flow to you only things that you want to experience, and that you as a human no longer need to go out and guard yourself because you have this other high vibrational aspect of you that's bringing to you everything that you are wanting to feel, you see.
The universe provides a lot. And I didn't know until today compassion's an emotion, but it makes sense. I miss a lot of stuff, and it's very interesting when it comes along. I'll mention one thing to throw myself under the bus, but there's no bus, and I'm not throwing myself anywhere. I think for 12 years, I was seeing, and I'm still seeing geometric light patterns, eyes open, eyes closed. And I finally asked about it. I don't know how I went 12 years without asking about it, but I got beautiful answers. Galactic coding, sacred geometry, whatever. The bottom line is lots of love, not to worry about it. But I didn't ask. And the point of this is, I think that's all of us in some form or fashion. Can we just have a last little bit from Athena on what's a beautiful daily reminder for us that's not about getting caught up in words or limiting, since we're so amazing humans, but what is a fun reminder that if we said it daily or practiced it daily or remembered it once a year, somewhere in between, what would be a great reminder?
Yeah, quite a while ago on our YouTube channel, way back through the YouTubes, we did a very short recording. I don't know if it was a minute or two, and it says you got to ask. Yeah, and that the universe is an answerer of questions, and it's how we're evoked. The minute Robin asks a question, the minute she poses something to herself, we come forward and provide her access to that. Yeah, and so if you want an experience, you have to ask for it. If you want an answer, you have to ask for it, and then you have to be expectant. You have to be excited. You have to perceive and believe that in order to become a match to that level of consciousness, for it to flow to you. You're trying to match something. Certainly, you're not going to match something in your wondering, in your disbelief, and your inability to perceive something as being a truth. You're not going to be able to match that energy. So, and if you can't match it, what's the best thing that you can do? Love yourself in that. I can't believe right now. Now I'm aware, aren't I? I'm consciously acknowledging what it is that my human feels. Maybe it's had something in its experience that's caused it not to trust. Am I here to tell it that that was the wrong way to feel? No, I'm not here to tell it that. I'm here to observe it and acknowledge you got some distrust in you. I can understand it. Now I'm soothing the human. I can understand by what you experienced why you would feel distrust. You had someone that violated you. You had someone that betrayed you. You had some things that occurred in your life that actually caused an energy to get lodged in you that are preventing you from believing even in me, you see.
Fun, very fun. And
There's
if you,
simply never a time when you want to argue with that human. It's a tool. Remember that. It's a tool that is used to feel the experience. That's all. And you are never to try to change what it feels or condemn what it feels or judge what it feels or regret what it has felt. If you do any of those things, you will hold on to the energy that was felt, and you will get a mirrored result of some negativity that you're not going to like until you let go of it. And why is that? Well, the universe loves you. It wants to flow to you. It wants to give you what it has created by everything you have felt. Remember, it's not judging, it's not condemning, it's not looking at right and wrong. It's receiving a feeling from you, and it's making a preferred experience out of that feeling that will make you feel the way that it feels that you want to. That's what's actually occurring. So once you can really get this understanding that it's a feel and release thing, that's what the human is. Let it do what it does. Don't worry about improving it. Don't worry about efforting. Don't worry about watching its conduct or trying to make it different than it is. Let it do what it does. And as you do that, you will become a match of your free will, love of yourself, makes you a match to the divinity part, and let the divine flow in and make that transformation that you're so desperately trying to do by yourself by efforting.
Can I ask a technical, non-technical question that's been percolating for 10 years? Can we get a definition, if such a definition even exists, if the phrase I'm about to use exists, rainbow light body? What is that? Can we describe it as a human field, energy, love, consciousness? What does Athena say about the rainbow light body?
In our estimation, the rainbow light body is the amount of emanation that is being allowed by you, through your energy centers. Each one of them are emanating out. There's a circular pattern or color pattern, a rainbow around you, if you will. But much of that is determined by the amount of light energy that is allowed into the field based upon what the human is holding or not holding.
Beautiful. Can we hear just a little more about it? Like, if is it kind of like if you go to a concert, you love the music, you had the best time of your life, and you let go? Is that your rainbow light body expanding? Are you connecting to all there is? How much more? Can we do a little more description?
Well, to some degree, a human is a conductor of light. That's what you are. Yeah. So, based upon in any given moment or experience, how open you are, how receiving you are, determines the amount of light energy that enters into the field and therefore is expressed through you, outward or surrounding you. Let's use that term. Yeah. And so, if a concert depends on how you are affected by it. Yeah. If all of your field is affected by it, if every part of you is forgotten in that moment and opened to the field of light, then of course that experience would provide you with more light energy coming in. But primarily that would probably be a temporary fix or something that would end when the concert ended. Yeah. So it is to understand, excuse me, energy that has been trapped in a human for a very long time is not just in the center, it's in the tissues, it's in the nervous system, it's throughout the entire vessel. It's not just in one small containment. It radiates out through the entire being. And so it's to have that understanding that you might have a temporary upliftment and you might allow more energy in that moment, but you would probably go back to your holding pattern once the concert had ended.
Awesome. And I'm going to put a photo up from a concert. A lot of angels coming in, or light beings, beings of light, whatever the word is, a lot of love. And I heard if everybody had a camera, anywhere from a third to two-thirds of folks would have gotten the same shot. Just depends on what you've been saying the whole time, which is what will you allow for. Any reaction to the, I don't know what to call it, shapes of light, balls of light, consciousness, love, angels, universal helpers? Any reaction to the photo at all?
Well, Robin was thinking when you were showing her in the beginning the pictures of the orbs, it is something that she's had a great deal of. They show up in all of her pictures, all over her house. Yeah, and light energy or beings that are not in physical form will show up in this way. Yeah, some of them, as you depicted, could be angels. Some of them could be people who have expressed in other lifetimes. Could be spirit guides. Could be any number of things. Yeah, but it is to understand that that's actually what orbs are. They are an expression of light, and so are you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, Athena. Thank you for sharing so much.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Very fun.
Yeah.
With your permission, I'll blow some sage from Texas to Washington State. It's just one of the staples of the show. And for folks at home, if anybody wants to catch the scent of sage, just set your intent. And by that, it means don't even set your intent without setting your intent. Let's go with the flow here. But if you did want to do something, you can just be like, universe, angels, helpers, unconditional love, get in here. I could use a little more openness. It's the Zen thing, opening openness. It's they say seeing without seeing, hearing without hearing, smelling without smelling. Your heart already is there and knows what to do. So I'm going to light this. Some people are hypersensitive. Taste it first or smell it first. It's up to you. It's kind of like ordering ice cream. I think everyone's got their own way they order ice cream at the store, and not everybody wants a waffle cone. But if you want a waffle cone, get a waffle cone. Okay, so a little bit of sage is lit and it's a big flame. So hold on. Got it. Now smoke, and we did this before the show, so we probably know Robin's getting this in Washington, but can we out you? Robin, are you catching sage smoke in Washington State?
Absolutely.
Yay. And oh, and I forgot to say, treat this like a triple tier tiramisu. It's my favorite expression lately. No calories, but sage, flowers, and if you want some ocean smell or something more fantabulous, ask for it. If you don't ask, you don't get. And you said earlier through Athena, or they said, you gotta ask. I was seeing a t-shirt out of that with a ginormous exclamation point. You gotta ask. I love that expression. If I had to pick one thing out of today, you got to ask. So ask for sage flowers you haven't had in a while that makes you chubby checker Elvis in the kitchen an hour from now because you're like, I'm still getting it. Make it stop. Okay, Robin, what are you getting for, you're getting sage. Anything else? Wave action, wind in your hair, anything besides just sage?
Just sage.
Okay, perfect. Beautiful. And then I did have one last question. What's next for you down the road? Are you taking it one step at a time? Have you had like a bunch of book ideas percolating around? Are you thinking retreat? Are you thinking this? Are you thinking that? Share at whatever level you want to share. And remember, some judo experts are not going to share their super secret moves. They're only going to bust it loose when they're in the Hollywood movie or in the alleyway when they get confronted. So you don't have to share anything you wouldn't want to share at a cocktail party.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be doing my first live presentation at the Sedona Transcendent Soul Retreat. That's coming
Yeah.
up September 17th, 18th, and 19th in Sedona, I think. So I'm going to be doing that. And I did start a new website with my son called Athena Universe, where I can do a lot more behind the scenes. Sometimes it's difficult to get in for a private session. If someone just has a question, there's an Ask Athena option on there where they can actually email a question in if they're having some issue in their lives that they're needing some assistance with. That's where a lot of my written transmissions go out and regular audible recording. So it's more of a kind of a coaching type thing. It's something that keeps people on track. So it's a little bit different than my regular Athena and Truth website. I do a lot of YouTubes with my sister Heidi on my Athena and Truth, and that's where I book my private sessions. And I also have courses and meditations and things like that on there. You know, for the future, I am a grandmother and I am 65 years old. So I like to have my free time or the ability to take my grandkids and to spend time with them is really at the top of my priority list. And so I'm finding that doing private sessions, it was gobbling up really a lot of my time. So I try to do, I do the Kundalini activations and chakra clearings, which we talked about, getting emotional entrapments out of people's energy centers. I do those at least once a month where I get 20 people at a time. And so I'm preferring to kind of move to more that direction where I can satisfy maybe a larger group of people and then still allow some personal time at this stage in my life where I can actually spend with my family and my grandchildren.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I mean, if you don't mind me saying this, and take what I say with a grain of salt, but like 300 people by Zoom for you, absolutely. I once got to go to Esther Hicks. Here I am in San Antonio. It was San Antonio, but I lived in Austin at the time. And
Yeah.
that was super fun to be in a room, but Zoom works just as well. And I could totally see you pulling crowds through Zoom and taking the pressure off so you get more time with the grandkids. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
with your permission, I'll put up one angel photo, but then have you conclude for us in whatever directions you want to take us. Just a photo of an angel in light energy form named Joy. But if anybody wants to close their eyes and have her come through whatever way, whether it's in human form or this or that, a hummingbird, you look out your window, see her in light energy form, no limits. What's Joy have as a reminder this way before we still do your formal closeout? You're a show host as well, so you know how that works. What's Joy got as a reminder for us all?
Just to really be one of the things that kind of lit me up the other day in one of the recordings that the group did is that I do have a choice in how I want to view others. And oftentimes we're so justified in the choice that we're making in negativity. And I really made it my goal that no matter what someone is doing, that I'm going to move to love, that I'm going to move to acceptance. I'm not talking about tolerance. I'm talking about surrender. Surrender is a really close match to love. It's something that gets very connected to your source. That I understand that everything that I get in my experience, I'm the creator of. There's no reason for me to be mad. There's no reason for me to want to get something out of my experience that I myself have brought into it. And I really think this is where joy is. Joy is the understanding that everything that comes before me, I am the creator of. And in that recognition, I no longer blame or condemn or become upset with what it is that I see in my experience. So that's really the direction that I'm within myself, not efforting in, just realizing in.
Okay, so I've got this quote that I always try to remember. Like, if I can remember a quote, it's a miracle. But I mean, I actually will prove it here. Dolnife, the Native American chief, said, "Life is a feast, partake." And then Mary said, "Love is," the big Mary said, "Love is everywhere. Open your eyes to see love." I like that. But here's a quote that I just wanted to throw out there. and see your reaction again, because I think this is a beautiful quote. Came from a Netflix film, but I can't remember which one. And this is like 8 years ago. In the end, love is what shows us life in different colors. I thought that was deep, and I still reach for it. I cannot yet remember it. I figure another 100 times of being embarrassed on a show, having to go dig for it. In the end, love is what shows us life in many colors. Robin, you're good at this. What's your reaction?
Yeah, well, I think there's a vibration to everything. That includes colors, it includes sound, that's emotions. And I think the way that each would look at a color, they would individually determine what that represented or that vibration color means to them. It's why people have a favorite color. Maybe the favorite color moves them into a love state or some feeling that they're wanting to have. So I very much think that colors are a vibration, and the preference that you hold towards them is an indicator of your own.
And this came up halfway through the show. Chakras, which you're clearly an expert on, and everything else. If you go online to like look up chakras, there will be literally 4 million versions of what every color means, and this and that. And it could be from India, it could be this culturally, spiritually, this group, that group, definitions. It's wild. It's just nonstop, never-ending definitions. But Joy said once about I'm not going to get this right. The sacral base, the red, she said red represents laughter. And I was like, whoa, I never saw that online anywhere. So I wanted to leave folks with that. I thought that was super creative and fun. As soon as you think you know something, flip that pancake and you can be surprised by the universe every time. Robin, you get the closing. This is like, one of those big shows. One day will be a very big show. What's your final reminder for us all? Keep love in our heart, stay open, allow for what you can allow for, do what you're already doing, but you got to fill in the rest.
Yeah, just go out and live freely and observe yourself and what it is you feel as you do it, and know that that is the connecting point.
I love it. Well, Robin Jelinek, coming to us from Washington State, but it could have been Naples, Florida. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. You're totally phenomenal, and absolutely wonderful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.